we're gonna get started, and then I'm gonna invite you up. Well, actually, give me just a minute, Nick.
Okay.
So tonight is a holy night. It's the most prolific holiday in the Bible, right? It's the Sabbath. So when the sun goes down, you light candles and you give thanks for the lights that God created and for the week and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so, women have the spark of life, right? It's where life is created. So historically and traditionally, women would light the candles on the Sabbath. So I just wanted to invite you up to participate in that, and we'll say a prayer, and we'll give thanks to God for the week, the times, the hours, creation, our bodies, our lives, everything, and then we'll move forward. So the prayer for that is, our Father, now blessed are you, King of the universe, who created the heavenly lights, and then you light the candles. So I'll remind you when it's time.
Right.
Nick, or we're going to start recording this one.
Okay.
It's happening.
Okay.
Welcome to another Modern Mind Ancient Book, where we're going back to move forward. We're finding a love for the law, the prophets, and the writings. We got Pete with us tonight, and
Good
we're in the
evening.
church for the second of phase 2. We're going to do the book of Job tonight. But before we get started, I'd like to invite whichever ladies would like to come up. If you wouldn't mind, please come on up, and we're going to light a couple candles.
Yep.
So tonight is the Sabbath. It's an important night, and we can celebrate this every
Yes.
week, because every week that we're here, we have this opportunity, and, women have, the creation of life happens in the womb of a woman.
Yes.
So traditionally, this has been the way that
Right.
this gets done, is that ladies would light the lights on the Sabbath. So I'm going to teach you guys a prayer real quick, and then it's up to you to pray.
Right.
So blessed are you,
Love you,
Lord our God,
Lord God,
Creator
Creator
of the heavenly lights.
of the heavenly lights.
Okay. Blessed are
Blessed are
you,
you,
Lord our
Lord
God,
God,
Creator of the heavenly
of the
lights.
universe.
Blessed are you,
Blessed are you,
Lord our God,
Lord our God,
creator of heavenly lights.
creator of heavenly lights.
That's right.
Yep, click it, push it or something. There we go. Perfect.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we just did a very special thing.
Yes.
That's God's blessing.
Yeah.
So, thank you, ladies, for coming
Ladies,
up and
thank
doing
you.
that. We really appreciate it. This is a very special night, and before we get started, I just want to pray. Father, thank you for this week, for these hands, for these hearts, for this place. Thank you for all of the books that you've given to us, Father. Thank you for creating the earth, the sun, the sky, the stars, the moon. Thank you for the animals and the plants, Father. You are the Father of creation, and tonight we honor you, and we say thank you for this very special day that you give us to sit down and enjoy not only what you've created, but each other. Thank you for the fellowship that we have in front of us, Lord. We pray that your Spirit would be present with us, and that we would come to know you more because of the scriptures that you have given us. Amen? Amen. Okay, so oddly, the book of Job is the oldest book in the Bible. Did we know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting book.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Genesis is older,
Right.
but Job was collected in historically as an
The story of
yeah,
creation
as
is
an
older.
inspired scripture. There is not one time in the history of the faithful people of Israel that the book of Job was not included in the canon,
Right.
right? So, the book of Genesis was written, right? This book already existed. So it's the oldest book in there.
Right.
And oddly, it you kind of got to get both to get the one, you know?
Right.
So take us to the next slide, Nick. Is it not clicking over there? We should have the outline on that one. Technical difficulties. We're going to get there eventually. And oh, I saw something happen.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. Can we read that at all? Can you see it? Kinda. I'll read it. I'll read it out loud. So the book of Job has
Right.
4 separate sections. Okay. You have the prologue, which
Right.
the beginning of the book. That's chapters 1 and 2. Then you have Job. Well, you have the cycle of dialogues, which has Job's 3 friends and one more.
Right.
I say one more because there's a reason for that. So, prologue, cycle of dialogues. Then you have, get this out of the way here. So, then you have God's response, right? So, prologue, cycle of dialogues, God's response, and then Job's repentance and restoration. Those are the major kind of players in the game there.
Major
right?
themes throughout
Yes.
the book.
So that's how the book's written. And it's important to note that because in each of those, there's that placeholder has a specific direction attached to it, right? So go to the next cycle or the next one. Okay, so everybody knows something about this book, okay? I'm going to read a couple things. It's a profound piece of Hebrew wisdom literature, often grouped with Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. It's part of the writings, okay? And it's unique in its exploration of human suffering, divine justice, and the limits of human understanding.
Right.
So, is this book about the suffering servant? Is that how we imagine it? Mostly, right?
One
Mostly.
thing we might want to mention, it's not part of the Torah. We've talked about the Torah quite a bit.
Well, yeah, the Torah. So these are the writings. So you have the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. This is the writings. The Chittabim is what it's called. So this is like the wisdom writings. So like it said, it's grouped with other things. The Torah is the law. So what I want to do is I want to go to the actual book itself. So so it's about the suffering servant, right? That's how we see it. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless, upright, fearing God, and turning away from evil.
Right.
Where was Abraham from? Ur, right? Ur. Yeah, it's easy to mistake because Uz and Ur are very similar. It's the same
Right.
etymology. It's the same word type, right? Because this is a post-flood, same time story as Abraham.
Right.
So the setting is important. So what this means is this. Ur of the Chaldees, that's not where Abraham's from.
Right.
The Chaldeans were in the city of Ur because Ur was sacked, utterly destroyed. And the Chaldeans they were like caravanning people, right? They were nomads. They were in the area or in the region at the time that the Babylonians were in Babylon and had taken power. These books are kind of finalized during that time because Israel was taken into captivity and brought to Babylon, where scholarship became very, very important because the temple was gone, the people had been taken into captivity, the northern 10 tribes had been taken to Assyria and dispersed all over the place. Then the Babylonians rolled through, took out Judah, and now all the Judeans are in Babylon. And so you get all this prophetic, like it's a huge prophetic time. When we get there, it's a very interesting time. But it's at that time that formed this book in the form that we have it today. So remember last week, I said that the Bible is not concerned with stating facts and figures, that it's not mathematics, right?
Right.
And this book is a very, very, very good example of that. Because the question is, the Western mind,
Right.
our modern
Mind.
mind, was Job a real man?
Yes,
Maybe.
most likely.
More than likely. Maybe he was. Maybe this is a conglomeration of human
Right.
wisdom that was recorded into this form for us to consider. Okay? That's why it's a wisdom writing. Maybe Job was a real man. We don't know. This book is so old, we don't know. You could say 2000 BC or before, maybe 2400 BC. So we're in 2025. That's 2,000 or 4,525 years ago. This is a very ancient
Yep.
book. So the question then is what do we do with it? Do we do this seeking facts and figures? Or do we do this trying to understand why is this book here? And what does it teach us? Because I would venture to tell you that this book is not about a suffering servant. This book is about the one who comes to redeem all from our fallen nature.
Right.
This is a Messianic book. Remember we talked about last week how Jesus on the road to Emmaus met two disciples and they said, was our heart not burning while he was describing all to us? Including Moses, including the Torah.
From all the writings.
From
they
all
say.
of the writings, from Job itself.
Yeah.
So let's do this real quick, okay? So these are the facts that we can say. Let's do the Western mind.
Right.
Job was blameless and righteous, right?
Right.
Who's blameless and righteous? Is there one who has never sinned?
Jesus.
Okay. So why was Job blameless and righteous? Right? So here we go. We got a Job who feared God and turned away from evil. Now, I'm not saying this is Jesus. I'm saying this is teaching us.
Right.
This is leading us, right? That these stories are meant to be seen as the wisdom of God for man.
Right. It's a foreshadowing of what
Sure.
come.
He had 7 sons and 3
Right.
daughters that were born to him. He had the perfect number of sons.
Right.
And he had the complete number of daughters. What was he doing? He was going forth, multiplying and subduing. He's keeping the Torah. He's keeping Genesis. He's doing the right thing. Everything God said to do, he's doing. His possessions were many. Lots of sheep, lots of camels, lots of oxen, lots of donkeys, servants, and he was the greatest of the men of the East. What's in the East? Where was Abraham from? What were the Hebrews, right? They
Right.
were from the other side.
Right.
Israel is in the West. The Hebrews are from the East. He was the greatest man of the East. This is teaching us something about Abraham. This is teaching us contemporary belief systems.
Right.
This is what Abraham knew.
Right.
So, and you'll see in here, there's a number of things that are decidedly not
Right.
Jewish. But it's really important to understand that has a purpose. Because God is the God of all. He's from beginning to end. There is no people that's not his. He's the king of all men. Those who will be judged and those who will be saved. He's the king of all. Everybody falls under his jurisdiction. So, he's the greatest man of the East. So, Uz-Ur, I'm going to say this is a Sumerian culture.
Right.
The Sumerians said that they conquered from sea to sea,
See.
which means the Gulf, right, the Persian Gulf, all the way to the Mediterranean. They were the first large kingdom. They were the first people to give us writing. They were the first people to do 360
Right.
degrees. They knew the sun, the moon, the stars. They knew any number of things. They created music. They created metallurgy. They did libraries, animal husbandry,
Right.
irrigation. All of it came from them. So how did we get this book? Well, we got this book from Jethro,
Yep.
the high priest of Midian. Yitro, Reuel, the friend of God, who wasn't Jewish. He was from Midian, and he was a high priest of some religion. And what was it? Right? So what this story is telling us is that there was a reality that served the Most High God prior to Israel. That's what it's telling us. And that had expectations, that it had knowledge, that it had wisdom, that it had interactions with the Most High God.
Right.
The God that we know as the God of our Bible. That's why it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
The friend of God, Jethro, who taught Moses, right? He was with him for 40 years. If you look at the story of Exodus, Moses was in Egypt for 40 years, and then he was in Midian for 40 years. He served under Jethro, Reuel, the friend of God. That's his nickname. Go to Jewish circles, that's what they call him, friend of God. Now, this is the cool part.
Abraham knew the story of Job.
Yeah, Abraham knew the story of Job. This is ancient wisdom. So whatever Job was, and I asked you if he was a real person for a reason. I don't care.
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He
What-
could be a composite of just...
You know what matters? It matters if we read this with eyes seeing Jesus.
Right.
Jesus is the one who gives us our interpretation. Remember last week I said, I follow that rabbi. And I pointed to him teaching on the Sermon on the Mount. I had a photo of it, right? That's my rabbi. That's who tells me what the stories mean.
Right.
Because his purified Judaism is the one that I want to follow. And it's the one I want to teach. I want you guys to understand too. Because when you look back in this, he becomes very present. Very present. So, okay. Job is a cool guy. So he had all these possessions, and his sons used to go and hold feast in their house, each one on his day. How many sons were there?
7.
Did they rest on the Sabbath?
No.
Nope. Interesting. There's a spiritual warfare application here, right? So here we go. When the days of feasting had completed their cycle, what's the last day of the week?
The Sabbath.
Right? We're getting a picture here. This is a foreshadowing. It's taking us somewhere. So when they had completed their cycle, Job would send and consecrate them, rising up early in the morning and offering burnt offerings according to the number of them all. When is the most holy time on a Sabbath?
Sunset.
The nighttime. So what did he do before the holy time? He offered sacrifices, right? Because you have to be cleansed to appear before God.
Right.
How did he get a law? You see? All this is a foreshadowing. All this is leading us somewhere. So, and he said, perhaps my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. And what does it tell you? His focus was not on eating and drinking in houses. His focus was not on his things. His focus was not on the greatness of his sons. His focus was not on the next business deal, even though he had all these things. His focus was on God and God alone. And how can I be a good leader for my family? And that's what he was trying to do. He was a man who loved God. But could he stop his family from doing things? Oh, man, that's a sad testimony. It's a spiritual warfare thing. Did you have a question, Landon? Oh, okay, you're just raising your hand. Yeah, go ahead. There's no answer.
No.
Why did Job suffer?
Why didn't Job? Because he was righteous, but he did suffer.
Maybe it
Not
wasn't
in the
because
long term, but temporarily at least.
maybe it wasn't because he was righteous. Maybe it was because sin entered the world.
Right. Oh,
Maybe
that's why.
Yeah. Maybe it was because we made a decision to not be properly educated by God before we decided we wanted to be like him. And so we ate and we fell. Why was the tree in the garden? Was it there because you could never have it? Go ahead, Doug.
How about the perspective that we don't always know what's going on in the heaven before it? Job didn't know that he had the discussion with the son, and, well, he didn't know, he didn't get the answer.
Right.
Everybody in heaven was wondering.
Right.
Yeah, and you get that in the dialogue. So he is hitting on something. We'll keep going into that. So now the question is it a heavenly court? So now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. We talked about this last week. What is the Son of God? What's that? Really? Are we sure? So the question is this. Who's Adam? Is he a son of God?
Yes.
Who is Jesus?
Son of God.
Because he's the second son of God. He's the
Right.
second Adam, right? He was the one who was faithful and just, like Job, who was blameless in all of his ways, right? But Adam was not blameless in all of his ways.
Right.
But Adam was a son of God. So
Right.
let me ask you this. And now this is a minority thing, but here's what I think. So Nick and I, well, we've all had this conversation a few times. I'm not a big fan of theology. Because here's my contention. Here's my bone of contention with it. We have, let's say, roughly 2,000 years of considering what we think we know about the Bible, right? And we have this time after about 200 AD when we were completely removed from who Jesus was, from his culture, and then we started just coming up with all kinds of stuff. And you get, this holy Catholic Church. You just get all this crazy stuff going on, right? You get the catechism. We did the same thing. The Talmud and the catechism are the exact same thing.
Right.
It's a departure from the text into the tradition. So a lot of theology for me is just tradition, and I'm not a big fan of it at all. Because the question is this in the heavens? Are these the Son of God? Because if you go back in history, let's just leave theology out of it. Go back in history. What did the Greeks believe? That there were men who were gods, right? That the leaders were gods. What did the Egyptians believe? That the leaders were gods. That's all through culture. Human beings. And what were they given? Who were they given dominion by? By the God. And who rules in place of the Father in a kingdom? The Son. These are sons of God. All we got to do is look through history to see that that's true. Very true. History records it. So what do we do with this text then? Do we say that this is a heavenly courtroom? Because, so let me finish reading that, and then I'll give you kind of how I see this. Now, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and the adversary also came with them, Satan, Satan. The Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From roaming about on the earth, walking around in it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? For there's no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil." Okay, let's stop. I'll give you my interpretation. On the Sabbath, the people who love God came before him, and they offered worship to him. And the adversary, who is not an adversary to God, when the demons came before Jesus, what happened? They shrieked and cried out, "Have you come to judge us?" Right? They're no contests for him. They're not his enemy. But whose enemy are they? Our evil ways give them the way in. Right? So all these righteous, right, the people who want to be right with God, they come before him on that special day. That's a foreshadowing. The law hadn't been given yet, but there was a special day. This is an image. It's pointing us somewhere. Remember, this is edited and compiled by Jewish people. Right? Remember what I said. Competing worldviews. All these books represent the way a nation, in this case Israel, saw themselves. In whose name did they live their life? And who was my father? What were my traditions? So this book is pointing us toward the Sabbath. That's what I believe. So this is what I think. I think the ancients believed that the sons of God were the rulers, right? So there was a certain day that the high people, the mighty ones, the ones who were strong, they came before God, and Satan came too. But you know what he did? He was there to interfere, right? He was there to say, look, see? This is what you made. This is what you made, God. Look at them. Evil, dark, destructive, just like I told you, right? What you made here is not good. It's not good. Look at them. They turned against you. And it's the same one that convinced them to turn against him. There is a war, but the war is for you. It's not God's war. He's
He's the winner already.
Yeah, he's the winner. He's just seeking out a people, right? And we know that's true because Jesus told us that the time of the Gentiles will come to the end and then Israel will be restored, but only after they're pushed all the way, almost to death, completely to death, right? This world is not being saved. This world is destined for destruction, for fire, for death, because it's sinful, it's broken. So these people who considered themselves the sons of God, they come before God on a day, on the Sabbath, right? And Satan comes and he's like, nope, not good. Go ahead.
Right.
You shall keep the Sabbath holy, right? But the thing is this: Sabbath is creation, right? You don't need to be commanded to be like God if you love God. You want to be like God. So if God rested on the seventh day, then you would do it, right? So if God is speaking to you, and He's like, "Hey, I really love to sit with you," and you're like, "Oh, you know what? I know your story. I'll sit with you when you sat. Can we sit together?" Right? So maybe. We don't know. I know that Genesis is a lot older than this book because it's creation. This is post-flood. Genesis is pre-flood, right? At least the creation story is. So, I don't know. This much I do know, yes. That's what I think. Well, that's
Yeah. Right.
That's right. So that's the primary thought, right, when it comes to this. But I want to ask you. So here's my bone of contention with that, and that's the reason I don't like theology, because if you read this, it says, "Now there was a day," and I'm going to read it like it should read. "Now there was a day when the sons of God met in the heavens to come and present themselves from the Lord or before the Lord." That's not what it says.
No.
It says, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan was among them. And then the Lord asked Satan, 'Where'd you come from?' And he said, 'I've been prowling around the earth.'" So why can't it be on the earth? Sounds like it. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Melchizedek. So the rulers, right? And that's what I'm getting back to. If you just let history speak for itself, the people who ruled considered themselves sons of God, gods themselves, lesser deities, right? And so, look, I'm just saying, that's what history looks like to me. If I leave theology out of it, now the problem is you got to stop reading commentaries for like 1,000 years to understand this, because for some reason, that's what we did. But I don't see that in Job. And when I look back in history, what I see, so take Sumerian culture, okay? There's a temple complex in the middle of the city. The chosen men to rule were free. Everybody was free. Everybody conduct their own business. Women were not held. It wasn't highly masculine, right? Women could own property, which is one of the things we're gonna talk about in the very end of this. It shows you that culture because the women, the daughters of Job, were given like property and stuff, right? So okay, these people were chosen because of their great capability to make decisions on behalf of the people as freemen. They weren't elected. They were chosen because the Spirit of God was with them, right? And they would go present themselves before God and make decisions. They made decisions about irrigation at the temple top, you know? And so you would climb the mountain and come into the presence of God, and if you were the ruling class, you were the ones chosen by God to have dominion over the people. That's Sumerian culture. But it's many ancient cultures. Antiochus Epiphanes considered himself a god as he desecrated the temple and stood on the necks of Jewish people and flayed them and murdered them. That's what we have in our past. So, again, I'm in the minority here. It's true. But I promise you this. If I see Jesus as the Son of God, as the rightful ruler, and he was a human being, why can't I see these as human beings? just pretenders, right? These are the people who called themselves the sons of God. But Jesus is the true Son of God, the rightful ruler. Go ahead. I'm so glad you asked that. When we get to Genesis, we'll get there.
Yes.
So that to me is one of my favorite stories, and you might be mind blown by the possibilities. Okay, so let me soothe Pastor back there and say, you don't have to agree with me, right? This is one of the wonderful things about this, because on the one hand we have, and on the other hand we also have. You know, so you can feel a certain way, you can believe a certain way, you can have different theology. I'm just telling you, this makes sense to me because I know Jesus was a man, and I know Adam was a man, and both of them are sons of God. Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah. Well, because that's the theology, right? I don't like that theology. I don't think it's real. I don't think we have to have a spiritual world and a natural world. I think to God, we are both.
Right.
Yep. Hold on. I'll tell you right now. Good question. All right. Let me see. The days of feasting. That was the sons. Now there was a day. Okay, Ben. So son. And then I think it's Elohim, but one second. Yeah, it's Elohim. So plural, sons of the God.
As in human sons.
I think so. I mean, that's where I land, right? Because I'm going to interpret this through my rabbi. My rabbi was a man. These were imposters, right? And Satan made sure that God knew that, right? So let's get to this real quick, and this actually kind of ties in the thing. Because the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? He said, I'm on the earth. Why can't these people be on the earth? I mean, I don't see a heavenly thing here. Now, maybe they didn't know he was there. Doug, you might be right? Maybe the people didn't know he was there. Maybe that is a spiritual explanation or a spiritual thing happening. But he was there, and he was there with the sons of God. Now, and the reason I say that is because the sons of God don't interact with this Satanas, right? This isn't the Satan that we know.
No.
This isn't the yin and yang. Okay, another bone of contention about theology. We kind of teach it, that there's like a yin and a yang. You know? There's God that's good and Satan that's bad, and the two are warring it out. That's not the case, man. When the wicked ones, when these demons were confronted by Jesus, they shrieked and cried out in fear. He's not inferior to them. They are to him. They're not equals. They're inferior. Because he's the God of creation. He can speak it into existence. They have to take advantage of the weak and broken and lead us to sin and brokenness so that they can make us offensive to God. They want us to fall to harm him. That's what I believe the cosmology is about. They're our adversary. They're not his.
We're pawns for them to get at God.
Yeah, essentially, right? Okay, so now when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, Satan came with them. Where were you? I was on the earth. The Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? For there's no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil. So did God just like put him on a platter and set him before him? Here, take his head. Is that how we read that?
No.
A lot of people do. A lot of Jewish theology sees it this way, right?
Right.
So, go hang out with some Jewish folks. They're going to say, they tried to kill us, but they didn't. Now we have a holiday.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a thing. So, but is that really true? Because I don't think that God was leveling Job in front of the adversary. I think he was bragging. You know? He's like, look, you might have a lot of these, but this one's mine.
Right.
And say, and here's
But Job also offered sacrifices every week, so he'd be blameless before God because of his repentance and covering.
Covered, right? Blood atones for sin. Right? It's the foreshadowing. It's all there. This is a messianic book. I don't think it's a wisdom book. I think it's a messianic book. I think Jesus is all over this. Go ahead. Yeah.
Right.
He can't accuse him, can he?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
You've accused all these other things.
Right.
You can't do this one because this
Right.
one's mine. I have mine. That's what this is about. He's bragging on him. And Satan's like, you know what? You protect him. Go ahead.
Hold the mic up a little bit.
Oh, am I supposed to be doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so listen to what Satan says. Well, and this is the fall. Have you not? I know who
Right.
he is. He's evil. He's evil. Have you protected him? You protect him.
Yeah.
You put all this protection around him. Now, spiritual warfare. There's a thing here, right? If you commune with him, that one can't get to you. That's what this says, right? So where are you spending your time? I love, who's the famous preacher? Incredibly famous. Preach Jesus all the time.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham, right? Billy Graham went on a bus ride.
That was a lucky
Went
guess.
to Wesley's house, something like
Yeah.
that. Somebody who had a lot of power in God, right? And he found these knee holes on the ground. And they went out to the bus, but Billy Graham said, I want to wear those knee holes out, right? And they found him after waiting, after eating lunch. He was in there for like 2 hours in those knee holes, saying, Lord, do it again.
Yep.
Do it again. And he did it again. Because God is a rewarder of those who seek him. And you're protected when you seek him. That's what Satan just told us. Right? This is wisdom literature. Okay. So what did he say? Now you put forth your hand and touch all that he has, and surely he'll curse your face. But the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not put your hand on him. So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord.
Right.
Now, did God offer Job up? Is that what happened? Did he? Yep. And see, here's what we do as modern minds. And I'm not picking on you, but this is a fact. When we read these books, we fail to understand that this is majesty, right? That there has to be ascribed to God total control,
Yes.
okay? So you can have it, right? But why can he have it? If the earth hadn't fallen, could he have him?
No.
No. It's our decision. We set this up. Satan was roaming about because we wanted to be like God, because we didn't take good counsel, because we didn't take good action. And now Job is in the same world that Satan has dominion and power in because we gave it to him. God's not offering him up. He's saying, you're there already. You think you can test him? You think he loves me because of stuff? This world means nothing to us. Right? That's my people. That's mine. He knows what I know. You want to go take his stuff? Take his stuff. Doesn't mean anything to us. He's not yours. He's mine. Because God's not concerned about your stuff.
Right.
He's concerned about your soul. He's concerned about your righteousness. He's concerned how much you love him, commune with him, spend time with him.
Right.
He's concerned what you do for the benefit of others.
Yes.
Which Job also says here shortly,
Yeah.
right? So there's a thing here. Job is probably a lugal, a big man, something, right? There's a title for kind of the people who are chosen to serve in that culture, and it's lugal. It means big man, right? So he's a big dog, and he's got all the money, he's got all the prestige, he's got all the place, he's got, his kids can just go out and be crazy because
He's the A-list celebrity of the day.
he's got a ton of means, right? And in the ancient world, again, you know why this is written this way? Because this is the most blessed of God that you could be. When you can be fat, you're blessed.
Yes.
right? When you can have much, you're blessed. When you have many kids, you're blessed. When you have large houses, wealth, all that stuff, this is great. So this is how it's written. So now all this stuff happens. And this is, understand how these documents are organized, right? What's the first thing? Now on the day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in the
Right.
oldest brother's house. When would the oldest brother's feast day be?
First day.
Yeah, the last day, the greatest feast,
Yeah.
right? So on the Sabbath, when they're partying,
Right.
okay? When the greatest one is partying on the seventh day,
Yeah.
when the greatest one is having the greatest party,
Right.
a messenger came to Job and said,
And
the
that
oxen.
would be because the oldest one would have to have the best feast.
Yes.
So he had to know what everybody else had before he had his.
You know what I mean? It's a rolling motif. It's a theme through these things. So a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing, and now they're all dead. The Sabaeans attacked and took them and killed all your servants.
Right.
While he was speaking, another one came and said, the fire of God fell from heaven. Did God send that fire? You're going to see a series of misunderstandings through this, right? Because, and get this, we went through those four things. Remember, the prologue, the dialogue, the God answer, and then the restoration.
Right.
What happens in the history of human beings with God? There's the creation, there's the time of men, then God sends his servant, and then everybody's restored.
Right.
This book is the story of God's working on the earth.
Right.
This is totally messianic. Okay, so all these people do all these things. Everything is gone. It's just Job and his wife now. Children are dead. All the stuff is gone. Servants are dead. He's like in real trouble. And this is what he says. Naked, I came from my mother's womb, and naked I'll return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord for all that Job did not sin. Right? And what did Satan want? He wanted him to curse God. He wasn't offered up to Satan. Satan was begging to use this man to degrade God's kingdom. But God knew him. Because God said, I don't care about his stuff. You think it's about stuff because you're evil. My people love life. They love me. And that's what Job proved.
Kind of talks about rebirth there. Naked I came from my mother's womb. Naked I will return.
Yeah, this is
Nicodemus asked how could he return to his mother's womb.
that's right. The theme, the motifs, it's all present. The more you spend in this, and the more you spend letting Rabbi Jesus interpret it for you, the more it comes, right? That's why this is meditation literature. Wisdom is meditation literature. This takes years. You spend years in these books. You read them and reread them and read them. These aren't boring books. They're not that hard to understand if Jesus is interpreting it for you. I can give you volumes and volumes of Jewish documents that are really complicated with all sorts of differing theories and things about it, and then you go read ours and they wax eloquently about the possibility of the surety that of which is possible if one were to see it according to, it's all just very confusing. But these are practical stories. So what do we learn from this? What is it to be faithful to God? It's not to value what you have. This is the wisdom.
Right.
It's to value God. It's to be thankful. That's why we lit the candles today. Because we had our week. This is the night. We're going to love God today. Thank you for today. Thank you for everything I had this week. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I might die in a car accident. I might have a heart attack. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know I had a week and God blessed me. I had life. We're not, see again,
Yeah.
we don't go to the tree of knowledge, we go to the tree of life. And that's what I'm trying to teach here.
Yeah.
Let Rabbi Jesus teach us, right? So why did he say that? Don't worry about tomorrow. You're not guaranteed it. Where does he want you to go? He wants you to go in the holes on the ground that are worn out from prayer, seeking the God who gives life. He doesn't want us to worry about learning things. He wants us to worry about our communion with the living God who will teach us all things. If we want knowledge, we go to God. If we want truth, we go to God. If we want to know and be known and be a blessing to the people outside of us, we need the power of the living God. You can know this till you're blue in the face. I know PhDs who can't see this book for what it says because they're so steeped in theology. It's really, I don't even enjoy that argument. It's hard for me because I think the practicality of this is much more important for the kingdom than whether you know all these like jots and tittles and words and things. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm invigorated by it. I enjoy it. But I don't want to do it in this setting. I want to argue words and things with a little bit, right? Not a lot. I really want to live it out. So let's go to the next thing. This is the next scene, okay? So not Jesus. Satan and God had this conversation, right? Because there was a presentation of what I believe are the leadership of human beings on the earth at the top of the ziggurat. And Satan came to say, these aren't worthy of you. You see them? Look how dirty they are. And God was like, not Job. I got mine. And then he's like, oh, yeah, well, you protect him. Could not talk bad about him. But then he took everything from him. And what did Job say? I'm not going to curse God. I love him. What do these things matter to me? I came naked. I'm going naked. So it's okay. This is horrible, but it's blessed is the name of the Lord, right? Good for him. That's who we need to be. In times of trouble, should you lose your faith? Not really, right? But you're going to find out that Job isn't all that faithful here in a minute, at least in terms of the gratification of taking his own life and like such a I'm faithful to God thing. Go to the next slide. Okay, so again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves. And you see how it's like this vague thing, there was a day? It's because the Torah had not been given yet, right? But there was a day. They knew what that day was. When God was resting, you go meet him. There was a day. They came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them this time, to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? And he answered the same way, from roaming about on the earth and walking on it. And the Lord said to Satan, you see, Job? Yeah. Told you. That one's mine. There's no one like him on earth. He's blameless and upright, fearing God and turning away from evil. And still he holds fast his integrity. Although you incited me against him to ruin him without cause. Yep. Now, again, majesty. Okay? It's majesty. Satan was given the right to do these things because God is in control. But Satan did evil to Job. God didn't do evil to Job. Evil is on the earth. The door is open. God let him do it. It's a hard lesson. It is a hard lesson. We're not protected from having calamity because we live in a fallen world. That's what that story is. That's the wisdom there. Go ahead. That's right. Because God is in control. It's the majesty of it.
Right.
Well, he's not allowed to do it if God says no. Yeah. Because he's not an equal. He's not, again, he's our enemy, not God's, right? It's just, that's how the story plays. This is wisdom literature. It's hard literature. I get it. But you can't blame God for evil. Satan's the one doing the evil. God is the one saying that one's mine. God doesn't value this world. That's the wisdom of it. This place is not forever. He says, he who overcomes. Because where are we? We're in a place we have to overcome. No one here wants to die. We know it's wrong. But we're stuck. We're here. We have to overcome. And what did Jesus say we have to do? We have to love as he loved us. If I let my rabbi interpret this, what I see is I have to give myself up. And that's what God wants from me. And God is willing to give up my things and my stuff because that's what leads me to him. He's the teacher. And we follow. But you have to overcome this world. You can't love it. You have to give it away. Okay. So have you considered him? He says he's just a super great dude. And Satan says, because he still can't condemn him, skin for skin. All that man has, he will give for his life. Wisdom, right? He's testing. He will, so however, put forth your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. So the Lord said to Satan, behold, he's in your power, but you can't have his life. Because he still had plans for Job, right? God is not the author of evil. He has plans for Job. The end of this book resolves positively. Right. This is a hard moment. But if you let Rabbi Jesus teach you, you have to become obedient even to death on a cross. But Job didn't have to go to the death part. Right. He just had to go to the, this is not easy part, which is our stead. That's where we're going. All of us suffer. Okay, so put forth your hand, and then he had boils all over him. Right. That's difficult because this is another law, right? What was Job? He was the top of the food chain, a ruler of the people, most renowned, a wise one. And we learn more as his friends come about his position and how much of a benefit he was to the people and the nation. But now he's unclean. Now nobody can go to him anymore. Now he's lost not only his stuff, but he's lost his position. He can't be in the camp anymore, according to the law. A skin disease is horrible. Very horrible. And that's what he gets. Gets a skin disease. And he begins to scrape himself and sits among the ashes. Why does he sit among the ashes? When you mourn. You rent and you ash. That's a law thing.
Sackcloth and ashes.
Yep. So there we go. And his wife said to him, why do you hold fast your integrity? Curse God and die. Yeah. Remember Jesus, get behind me, Satan, Peter? You know? You don't know what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. Right here. It's all here. This experience is a motif. It's continually moving through. It's a spiritual warfare thing. When you're at your lowest moment and somebody says, I know you miss them because they passed away, why don't you just go to a psychic and maybe you can talk to them? What is that? Is that God? Yeah. That's Satan testing. Mm-hmm. And where was Satan testing? From the most loved one in his life. His own wife is attacking him. Mm-hmm. And what's that motif? When did this happen? In the garden. Right. Right? Satan divides even our marriages. He's constantly attacking. He's constantly forcing. We have to pray. We have to be present. We have to love. We have to forgive. How hard would it be for you? Imagine this moment. I mean, this is actually a really hard moment. All of your children are dead. All of your stuff is gone. Now you're unclean, and you can't even be involved in the culture of which you were top dog in. And your wife comes, and she's like, just curse God and die. It's rough, man. It's a really hard moment for him. He's at the bottom. But this is what he said. You speak as one of the foolish women speak. Yep. That word, foolish is an interesting word because it's a garden word. Let me find this here. Worthless, godless, unbelieving, right? You believe in yourself, you're worthless. What are you doing? Like, you're not faithful? What are we doing?
Right.
Why do you speak that way? Because Job still loved God enough, even through all this. Now he's lost his place. He just lost his things, but now he's no good to anybody anymore. But he's still willing to say, why are you godless? Don't be godless now. It's not the time. You speak as one of the foolish women. Shall we indeed accept good from God and not accept adversity?
Right.
In this, Job did not sin. Now, here's the friends. When Job's 3 friends heard of all the adversity that had come upon him, he came each one from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite, and they made an appointment together to come to sympathize with him and comfort him.
Right.
Wink, wink. Then they lifted up their eyes at a distance and did not recognize him. They raised their voices and wept, and each of them tore his robes, and they threw dust over their heads toward the sky. Then they sat down on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights, with no one speaking a word to him, for they saw that his pain was very great. They loved him. No.
Yeah. They were actually sitting Shiva with
They were
him.
sitting Shiva. Yeah, they were mourning with him. This is another Jewish thing, right? It's another law thing. So we'll go to, I think I have here the characters. So this directly ties to Genesis, so we're going to close here in a few minutes anyway. So Eliphaz was the name given to the son of Esau in Genesis 36, 4, and 10. Bildad the Shuhite, whose nickname, the Shuhite, may connect him with Shua, the 6th son of Abraham from Keturah. Genesis 25:2, and Elihu the Buzite, whose family designation may indicate him as the descendant from Buz, a son of Nahor. So these guys are all like that time period, right? The nephew of Abraham. So right time frame, right belief system, interesting dialogue. As we go, I think it'll really start to kind of stand out what it means that this is messianic. So, any questions or anything like that? Because we pretty much closed the prologue out. Job did wrong?
Job? No.
Oh, we'll get to that next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the next one. Let's stick to the prologue.
Okay.
You got a question on that? A 1,000%.
yes.
That's exactly the
Definitely.
story. It's Genesis. It's the shadowing of what has happened, right? What do you mean? Oh, well, it's the same mechanism, right? It's the same, the motif plays through. Jesus definitely had this experience. It's, so, I mean, Peter, he called Satan, right?
Right.
Far be it from me, Lord, that this would happen to you. He said, get behind me, Satan. Because Jesus, okay, let's tie something together here real quick, okay? Jesus had to give up his life, right? At whose hand did he have to suffer? Satan, right? And through whom? The people. The same people that destroyed everything that Job had. Because there's 2 kingdoms here, right? There's the kingdom of the people who wear the floor out saying, Lord, do it again. Let me call your people to be with you. Let me love you with everything I am, so that one day I might be with you in the kingdom to come and be made new with a new body and no more tears and death, right? And I'll reach out into this world. I'll forgive all these people. I know they're dying, and I know you want them, and I serve you, and I don't care about my stuff. I care about you. And then there's this kingdom where they care about their stuff. They care about their things. They care about what they can get from you. Jesus taught us about two different people. There's people with lighted eyes, and there's people with dark eyes. And that's the kingdom difference, right? So lighted eyes people, I'm out for you. How can I help you? How can I give to you? How can I be a part of what you need? The dark eyes people, what can I get from you? How can I get more from me? What can you do for me? That's the difference. Because God, it says, is contrite, which is crazy. God is like really, really good. He's really simple. He's really humble. And that's why I don't like theology. Because I just want to read these books and focus on the natural, which is supernatural. We are supernatural beings trapped in a body. Mm-hmm. When we die, we go to the real world. When we die, we go to judgment. When we leave this place, we go to him or we go to there. Because that's who we really are. This earth is a place that came about because we didn't trust God. And you can see it everywhere. We're just dropping bombs, murdering people. I mean, it's crazy out there. We have to defend our lives. Right. Jesus said, I tell you the truth, go buy a sword and take an extra tunic and the money bag with you now. Because it's a dangerous world out there. But if we tie these two together, Job had to give up his life, give up his things, give up his health, give up everything, unto the point of death. It was the image of what was to come. It's the Akedah. It's what Abraham did. It's a number of things. This motif will continue following through the entire thing as we go through it. But Jesus did the ultimate thing. He actually did it. But what did he give up? The same things that Job gave up. All of your stuff. Doesn't mean anything. It's not what's important. Our relationship with him is. Thank you for joining us. I've certainly appreciated this. Thank you, Pete, for being with us. You guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been a great night. Next week is July 4th. Right. And as much as I want to spend it with you, I'm sure you want to spend it with someone else. So we're gonna take next week off. So, you know, and enjoy your July 4th. Happy Independence Day. May the Lord keep you and bless you and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you and turn his countenance towards you and give you peace. And thank you so much for coming.